Welcome students to the second lecture on the subject business environment and legal aspects of business. In this lecture we will discuss about the important concepts covered by unit 2. In unit 2 it is covering the topics related with the macro environment. We will discuss in detail about all the macro forces like economic environment, social environment, political, then आपका cultural environment, technological and natural environment. This is the unit that covers in detail all about these macro forces and how they may impact our business. The first important point of discussion in this unit is about the economic environment. When we talk about the economic environment, it may be defined as the kind of the environment which is associated with the external economic factors. These external economic factors may be the great influencers in the buying habits of the consumers, and that's why it is very much important for any businessman just to assess and evaluate all these economic factors while if they are making any plan or they are going to take any decision. These factors may include the employment and unemployment rate, income level, inflation, interest rates, tax rates, saving rates, then recessions. All these are the forces that may impact the consumer buying habits, and the consumers are directly associated with the business. So that's why it is important for any business person just to assess in detail the economic conditions, the economic environment of a particular country in which it is going to do the business. Going further with the definition of the economic environment, it refers to all those economic factors which have a bearing on the functioning of a business. If we want to just study in detail about the economic environment, we should go with the components of the economic environment. The four important components of the economic environment includes the nature of the economy, the structure of the economy, economic policies and the economic conditions. Let us first start our discussion on the nature of the economy. Nature of the economy depicts the general level of development of the economy. The economies may be classified as low income economies, high income economies and the middle income economies. The classification of economies is on the basis of the per capita income, that is the income per head. For example, if we talk about the low income economies, so we can just define the low income economies as the economies in which the per capita income is up to $1,035 or less in the year 2020. That was regarded as low income economies. The examples of these kind of economies includes Afghanistan and Nepal like country. So where the income is less, the people earns less, they have like less money to spend on the products, so that kind of the economies may be called as the low income economies because their earning is less, so that's why they are not able to spend more on the products, so that may be the part of the low income economies. Then there may be the high income economies, the economies in which the per capita income is $12,535 as per the data given by the World Bank or above in 2020. It comes under the category of the high income economies. The high income economies includes USA, UK, Japan, Italy and France. Because the income is more, so the standard of living is also very high, and that is the reason that people, because they have more money, they have the they used to invest more, they used to spend more, and that is the reason that there are the chances of more investments into the business. There may be the good infrastructure facilities there into that particular economies. So this is also one of the way with which we can just go with the assessment of the economies. When we go with the middle income economies includes two categories like lower middle income economies and the upper middle income economies. Lower middle income economies in which the people have the per capita income in between $1,036 to $4,045 as per the data released by World Bank in the year 2020, and it includes examples like Kenya, Bangladesh, Myanmar, India. India also comes into the lower middle income economy because the income level of the people comes in between like this category, like $1,036 to $4,045. So India is also the example of the lower middle income economies, and it is as per the data of 2020. And when we talk about the upper middle income economies, it includes the categories like the people, those who have the per capita income in between $4,046 to $12,535. So that may be the part of the upper middle income economies, and the examples may be like China, Brazil, Malaysia. So they may be called as the upper middle income economies because the people and the per capita income there in these countries comes in between this kind of the category, that is $4,046 to $12,535. So whenever income per capita or per capita income is more in that countries, there are the chances of the high development, there are the chances of more investments, more spending, good habits of the consumers. So that's why nature of the economy is the first important component that decides about the economic environment of any particular country. The second important component that decides about the economic environment of the country is the structure of the economy. The structure of the economy is constituted of three important sectors. It includes primary sector, secondary sector, and tertiary sector. Primary sector is the kind of the sector in which the activities are directly dependent on the environment. These refer to the kind of the activities in which there is a direct use of the natural resources such as land, water, vegetation, building materials, and minerals. So whatever the raw material that is required for manufacturing any finished product, so that raw material comes from the natural resources. So that is the part of the primary sector. Let us just discuss this with the help of an example. For example, you deal into the manufacturing of the like shirts. So for manufacturing the shirts, you need the cloth, and the cloth is a raw material. But like if you really want a cloth, so that cloth comes from the cotton plant. So that cotton plant is the natural resource, and the kind of the business setups that provides you the cotton, they are into the primary sector. And the people those who deal into the primary sector, or the people those who are engaged in the primary activities, includes the farmers. They are called as the red collar workers because the nature of the work is outdoor only. So that's why the primary sector is all associated with the use of the earth resources, like with the cotton plant, they may produce the cotton, and that cotton they can provide to the manufacturing companies, so that they can prepare the cloth from that, and further from that cloth the shirts can be prepared. So this is the way that how these sectors are associated to each other. When we talk about the secondary sector, it includes industrial and manufacturing sector. The secondary sector activities add value to the natural resources by transforming the raw materials into the valuable products. For example, when you now have the cotton with you, so or the cloth is available with you, then now with that cloth you can prepare the shirts. So this is the task that comes under the secondary sector, and the workers, those who are involved in the secondary activities, are called as the blue collar workers. So basically the manufacturing, processing, and construction infrastructure industries, these kind of the industries comes under the secondary sector. Then comes tertiary sector. These sectors again are very important if you really want to do a good business. So you need some kind of the supplementary services. You need the services like you need the transport services, you need the communication facilities, you need to do the trade, you need the banking services. So these kind of the activities are really important to run a business. And whenever we talk about all these kind of the services that are the part of the tertiary sectors, those who are involved in the tertiary activities are mainly called as the white collar workers. So the structure of the economy can be defined as on the basis of three important sectors, and these sectors includes primary sector, secondary sector, and tertiary sector. The third important component of the economic environment is the economic policy. Economic policies are the important government policies which may further impact the economic condition of any country. These kind of the policies are the task of the government. They used to work on all these policies time to time, so to manage the economy to just check out the condition of the economy. So when we talk about the economic policies, there may be three important economic policies. It may include monetary policy, fiscal policy, and there may be the other economic policies also. The first two policies are important to discuss, and let's start our discussion with the monetary policy. Monetary policy may be called as an economic policy that manages the size and growth of the money supply in an economy. So, this is the policy that defines the growth rate, that manages the size of the money supply in an economy. Like if there would be more of the money supply in the economy, at some point of time it may retard the economic growth. So that's why government has to take the proper actions to check out or to balance the money supply in the economy. Same may be the case if there would be the less money supply in an economy. Again, it may impact adversely the performance of that particular economy, that particular country. So it is the responsibility of the government to check the level of the money or level of the money supply in an economy. And in our country India, it is the responsibility of the central bank, which is named as RBI, to control the money supply in the economy, because whenever there would be more money into the economy, maybe that it will create a good position, like there would be the lower interest rates and the people will be able to invest more into the ventures, into the setups. It will just go for the expansion of the economy, it will just give rise to the employment level also. But at some point of time, if there would be more of the money supply into the economy, the purchasing power of the currency may be reduced and it can just create inflation in the economy. So that's why time to time government used to make the policies, used to take various steps with the help of which they try to balance these kind of the problems into the economy. So if we talk about the monetary policy, it is the policy of the Reserve Bank of India, like central bank, and they try to control the money supply with the help of the four important monetary instruments, which are named as repo rate, reverse repo rate, SLR and CRR. The monetary policy of any economy may be the expansionary like policy, or maybe the contractionary monetary policy. So whenever there is more money supply in the economy, government reduces the interest rates, banks reduces the interest rates. So it is called as the expansionary monetary policy. And contractionary monetary policy focuses more on decreasing the money supply in an economy. A contractionary monetary policy is implemented by increasing the key interest rates, so to reduce the market liquidity. So it is like a tool into the hands of the government. If they feel like there is more need of the money supply into the economy, they sometimes take the decisions which helps in expanding the money supply into the economy, and vice versa. So let us just discuss in detail about the four important monetary instruments that are available with RBI just to balance the money supply into the economy. The first important instrument is called as the cash reserve ratio. To control inflation and the growth in the economy, RBI uses various tools, and out of all the tools, the one of the important tool is the cash reserve ratio. Let us just discuss what is called as cash reserve ratio. It is the ratio of deposits which banks have to keep with the RBI. Like for CRR, there is a certain percentage of the total bank deposit that the bank is required to keep in the current account with the RBI. Banks cannot use this kind of the money. Let us just discuss it with the help of an example. For example, you deposit rupees 1000 in your bank, and then bank receives 1000 from you. They have to put some percentage of it with the RBI. If the prevailing CRR is 6%, so it shows that, it means that out of that 1060 rupees as the amount of reserve, as the amount of cash reserve, the banks are required to maintain with RBI. Banks are under the obligation that they cannot utilize this money, they have to keep this money as a reserve with RBI, and now the bank is only left out with rupees 940. They can only just use these 940 rupees for further purposes, for further like investments or other activities. So here you can see, like if the RBI, they want to expand the money supply in the economy, they reduce the rate of CRR. They used to just put less restrictions on the commercial banks, and if they want to reduce the money supply in the economy, they used to increase the rate of the CRR. So it is simple funda, it is simple one monetary instrument that is there into the hands of the in the hand of the central bank, that is the RBI, with which they try to control, they used to control the money supply in the economy. The second important instrument, monetary instrument that is available with the RBI, it is called as SLR. It is called as statutory liquidity ratio. All the banks are under the obligations that whatever the money they are receiving from their customers, they have to just use certain percentage of that money in the specified financial securities that belongs to central government or state government. Again, let us just continue with our example. For example, if you deposit rupees 1000 in your bank and the SLR rate is 20% at that time, so it shows that like rupees 200, that is 20% of rupees 1000, 200 rupees, you as a bank, you like your bank is required to invest in the government securities, for which they will get some interest also. The difference between CRR and SLR is that, like in the case of the SLR, the commercial banks are getting some returns also. So this is again one of the monetary instrument that is available with the RBI to control the money supply in the economy. Whenever they used to see like there is more money supply in the economy, they used to increase the SLR. But when they used to see that there is more need of money, like there is no more need of the circulation of money in the economy, they reduce the SLR accordingly. So this is the second instrument that helps the RBI to control the money supply in the economy. Then comes repo rate. Repo rate is also called as the repurchase rate. You know, when we need money, we go to bank, we take loans from bank, and bank used to charge interest from us. Same is the case when the commercial banks are into the requirement of the money, they approach RBI. RBI is the central bank, so the banks used to approach RBI for the loans, and RBI used to give the loan to the commercial banks like by taking the securities from the commercial banks. So if the commercial bank need a loan, they have to simply just give certain securities, they have to pledge certain government securities to the RBI, and RBI used to charge the interest for that loan from that commercial banks. Basically these loans are for short durations, it is only up to 2 weeks. So if the RBI thinks that there should be the more circulation of money into the economy, they reduce the repo rate. But if they think that they want to discourage the commercial banks from taking the loans, so they used to increase the repo rate. So this is also one of the tools that is available with the RBI to control the inflation, to control the money supply into the economy. Let us just again continue with our example. Like for example, bank takes a loan of rupees 1000 from RBI, and if repo rate is 5%, so bank has to pledge its securities, as well as bank is under the requirement to pay rupees 50 as an interest to the RBI. And if the bank, if the repo rate will be increased to 7% or 8%, then again the interest would be more, and if there would be more interest that would be paid by the commercial banks, so they will be discouraged from taking the loans from the RBI. And if there would be less money available with the commercial banks, further they will give us the less loans, so there would be the less flow, circulation of money into the economy. So this is the like way how the repurchase rate, how the repo rate works in balancing the circulation of the money into the economy. Why we are calling it as the repurchase rates, like repurchase, it is called as repurchase rate. It is the reason behind it is that when the RBI gives the loan to the commercial banks on the pledge of the securities, it is on the condition that the commercial banks will repurchase all their securities after the completion of the duration of the loan. So that's why it is called as the repurchase rate. The next important instrument that is available with the RBI, it is called as the reverse repo rate. Reverse repo rate is the rate of interest offered by RBI to the commercial banks. Like if the commercial banks, they are into the surplus of the funds, so they may just give the loan to the RBI. They may just deposit all their surplus funds with the RBI for short periods, and RBI used to pay interest to these commercial banks. So this is called as the reverse repo rate. Again, it is the monetary instrument. Whenever the reverse repo rate is very high, so bank are always into the interest that they want to just deposit more of their surplus funds to the RBI with the kind of the thing that they will get the more interest from the RBI. And if the commercial banks, like if the reverse repo rate is less, then the banks are not highly interested in investing their surplus funds with the RBI. So this is also one of the instrument that is available with the RBI, and they used to increase or decrease the rates accordingly, according to the needs of the economic environment or the economy of the country. So this is the way that how these four important components, monetary instruments, helps in maintaining or managing the money supply, inflation rates in the country. Now the next important policy, which is again a crucial part of any country, it is called as the fiscal policy. Fiscal policy is a kind of the policy which is related with the government spending on the various activities, as well as the source of revenue of the government. So when we talk about the fiscal policy again is all dependent on the government. It is the government that decides about the total expenditure and the revenue. If the expenditure by the government is more on infrastructure development, on hospitals, roads, and if the expenditure is more and the revenue is less, so it is called as fiscal deficit. But if the spending by the government is less and the source of revenue or the revenue is more with the government, so there is a surplus available with the government, and it shows the good signs for that particular country. So government used to decide about the various decisions related with the spending of the government on the various important activities which are crucial for the development of any country. And like government also decides about raising the revenue so that they can spend the money on all these kind of the important activities. The main important components of fiscal policy includes government receipts, government expenditure, and public debt. One point we should note here, like one of the important source of the government revenue is tax. So whatever the tax is paid or government receive the tax from the general public, that constitutes a major portion of the revenue for the government, and that source of revenue is all like the contribution of the general public, and with that contribution of the general public, government used to spend on the various projects. So fiscal policy again is very important policy, which is that decides about the level of development in the country. So these are the two important policies that comes under the economic policies. And then the economic conditions. The economic condition of any country may change over time in line with the economic and the business cycle. There may be the expanding economy, there may be the contracting economy. So it is all dependent on the country's economic conditions. There are various micro and macroeconomic factors that may impact the economic condition of any country, and these factors includes the income level, GDP trends, sectoral growth trends, demand and supply trends, price trends, unemployment levels, balance of payment trends. So whatever is if the economic condition of a country is good, it will impact your business in a favorable manner. but if the conditions are not into the favor of a country, so again it may impact your business, it may be disadvantageous for your business, or you can take it as like it may be the unfavorable condition for your business. So while going through the economic environment of any country, so we should study all these four important components of the economic environment. Like we discussed on the economic policies, we discussed on economic conditions, we discussed on the structure of the economy, and we discussed on the nature of the economy. Then comes the socio-cultural environment. Whatever the business I am going to do, before doing that particular business, it is very much important for me as a businessman to study the socio-cultural environment of that country in which I am going to do the business. When we talk about the socio-cultural environment, socio-cultural environment includes the customs, traditions, values, belief system, practices, behavior, literacy rate of a particular location or any particular country in which we are going to do the business. If we will go with the taste and preferences of the consumers, our plans will be successful. But if we are not going with the decisions which influences the general public or the society in that country, then it may be a wrong decision, or it may impact in an unfavorable manner to our business. So that's why it's really crucial for any country to study about the cultural habits of the country in which we are going to discuss, in which we are going to do the business. For example, like the color sense, we should check that. Like if we talk about the colors, blue color is treated as a good color in some countries, but in some other countries it is not treated as so good. Same may be the case with the green color. Like if we can go with the white color, so like in some of the western countries, white color is taken as the color which shows the purity, but in some other countries white is treated as symbol of peace, but in some countries it is treated as the color of sorrow. So while if you are going to manufacture the products, and if you are going to do business in any particular country, you have to just go through the customs, the traditions, the belief system of that country. You have to sensitize your whole team and yourself with all the kind of the traditions that prevails in that particular country, so just to satisfy the needs and wants of the consumers of that particular country. So that's why socio-cultural environment plays a crucial role. For example, if we talk about India, like in our country, we celebrate Diwali, and there is more demand of the new clothes, sweets, fruits, and flowers. So at that time, the business people, they may make the strategies. They may just decide about the more discounts and good products. So because it is all the consumer sentiment, customers in India, they really want all these kind of the products. So there are the better chances of growth into these kind of the business at that particular phase. And your business is also dependent on the literacy rate of the consumers. If the consumers are the literacy rate is more in a country, so you have to be very careful. Whatever you are launching as a product in that country, you have to just check out that product. For example, if it is the you deal into the e-tables, so you have to check out the kind of the ingredients, because if the people are literate, they will be health conscious also. So after considering the society, after considering the traditions, after considering the belief system of the people, we can take the better decisions as a businessman. So that's why socio-cultural environment is also very important to study. Then comes the technological environment. It's all about technology today. If I am going to do any business, I have to go with the latest technology. If with the obsolete technology, it would not be very easy for me, or even I should say, like it would be difficult for any business person to survive. So that's why it is again very important to go with the latest technologies. Whatever the kind of the processes you are using in your manufacturing industry, so you should go with the latest technologies, latest techniques or procedures, so that like there should be the new equipments, new machineries, new methods of production. So then only the like as a business person you can grow and you can survive in this turbulent business scenario. So like for example we can discuss about the latest technological upgradations in the Indian market. Now the digital watches, they have killed the prospects and business for the traditional watches. Color TV technology has closed the business of black and white TV. There is no more demand of like you can say the photocopier and Xerox machines. There is very less demand of the like traditional cotton and the silk fabrics, because there is a artificial fabric that has taken the market of the traditional cotton and silk fabrics. So this is a kind of the technological change. Everybody, every consumer, every customer go want the new products, latest products with the latest technology, and you have to go with all these kind of the technological upgradations in the products in which you deal in, and because it may impact your business. So technological environment is also very important to study or before making any plan for your business. And then comes the competitive environment. When we talk about the competitive environment, it's like the competitors that may just eat our market share. So that's why it's important for a business person like me to study about the competition into the market. As in our last unit 1 lecture we discussed in detail about the competitors, like it all depends on the number of the competitors and their capability. So they may eat our market share. So it's really very important for us to do our homework or to pre-plan or just to check out the competitor strategies. When we talk about the competitive environment, so like if we are talking about the competitors, there may be the direct competitors or the indirect competitors. Direct competitors includes a kind of the rivals or the kind of the businesses, those who are dealing in the same type of product and service in which we are dealing. For example, McDonald, it is a direct competitor with the Burger King. If we are talking about the indirect competitors, they are the kind of the rivals to your business, those who are not in direct competition to your business but may indirectly impact your business. It may include the substitute products. For example, if we are talking about the services, we can take the example of the plane, train or car. If there is any person who want to travel, he has three options. He may travel by plane, he may travel by train, or he may travel by car. So these are the three, you can say, the kind of the rivals, those uh, indirectly competes to each other. So while we are studying the competitive environment, the focus should not be only on the direct competitors. We should equally focus on the indirect competitors also. So we have to just check out it from all the angles, from all the perspectives, like that can impact your business, that can impact my business. So that's why competitive environment again is very important to study. For having the detailed analysis on the competitors, we discussed in Michael Porter 5 forces model in our lecture number 1. So we can use that model just to study about the competitors. Then there are 3 competitive strategies also that we have already discussed in our first lecture. And while if we are talking about the competitive environment, we should consider these 3 competitive strategies also. It includes cost leadership, differentiation and focus strategy. Then comes the global environment and the international environment. You know that now the whole world is a one place, or it's a global village in which we are doing the business. When we talk about the globalization, it is called as internationalization. It means integration of your business with the world economy. Borderless world, or you can take it as like borderless business you may do if you are dealing into the products or the services. So there is no barrier to your business. You may do your business in any part of the world wherever you want to do it. So this is all the part of the globalization. It refers to the process of integration of the world into the one huge market. While we treat the whole world as one global village in which everyone is equal and they can do the business. So that may be the part of the globalization. And such unification, like there is a need to reduce the trade barrier, especially for the developing economies, because if there would be the removal of the trade barriers, less of the trade barriers, then the developing economy would have the better chances of the growth, and even they can just gain more, there may be the more employment levels. So that's why globalization is really important for any country, for not any country, I should say, for the whole world. The growing economic interdependence of the countries worldwide through increasing volume and variety of cross-border transactions. If you will see now, there may be the multiple cross-border transactions that are available to all the countries. Then there is more inflow of the international capital when you go with the globalization. There is more diffusion of the latest technology into the whole world when we go with the globalization. So when we talk about any particular company, so when any domestic company transforms into a global company, it passes through 5 stages. Let us discuss these stages one by one. Stage number 1 is when a domestic company exports to the foreign company its products through the help of the dealers and the distributors of that country. That is the stage number 1. At stage 2, the domestic company exports itself to the foreign company on its own. It does not depend on the dealers and the distributors, because now they gain the experience, so they do not take the help of the mediators. At stage 3, the domestic company becomes the international company. They establish their own producting, marketing and sales operations in the key foreign markets. At stage 4, now the company moves to the position of a full insider position into the foreign markets, and there is a complete business system including the research and development and engineering in the foreign countries. And at stage 5, now the company moves to the global mode of the operations. Now even the companies know about the economies of scale, that how they can provide product to the whole world by reducing even the cost. So now because the companies used to gain the experience, and they are in a better position just to know the philosophy of the foreign markets. So these are the 5 stages, and by passing through these 5 stages, domestic company fully transforms into a global company. Now when we talk about the globalization, so there is an important term that comes, which is called as the global integration, and it is an important part of the business environment. And let's study now, let us discuss on the global integration. The business environment in India has undergone a tremendous change in the last few years. You know, like when we got the independence in the year 1947, the government was focusing on social upliftment of people, and it was trying like the with eradication of the poverty in the economy, and the whole control was with the government in India, and they were giving very less power to the private sector, and the basic industries that were in the hands of the government. But in the year 1991, government faced the crisis of the balance of payment, and they approached World Bank for help. And when India approached to World Bank for help, then World Bank said, "Ki, why don't you take help from the other economies? Why don't you open up your economy to the other economies? Why don't you go for the open market operations?" And at that time, the government changed the way of its functioning, and they think on the various important measures, and government took the radical measures to integrate its economy with the other nations, and these measures are called as the measures of the global integration. So when we talk about the measures of the global integration, it includes liberalization, privatization and globalization. So the first important component of the global integration is called as liberalization. Liberalization means flexibility. Liberalization means whenever we are providing freedom to the entrepreneur, that they may enter into any industry, they may produce any product, render any service. So these kind of the flexible approach or freedom to the entrepreneurs may be defined as the liberalization. When the government opens its economy, so they started with the liberalized policies in the year July 1991, and there were certain reforms that was a part of the government policy at that time. For example, like there were government abolished licensing in various areas, so to just promote the business and like just to invite the foreigners so that they may come and they may just invest in our country. Then there was an opening up of the basic telecommunication services to the private players. Earlier it was into the hands of the government only, but then they opened that telecommunication services to the private sector also. Then government announced 5-year tax holiday to the new industrial units with the reason because they wanted to have the more industries, so to boom the economy or just to for the reason of the economic growth in a country. Then government also relaxes the rules related with FARA, and they introduced FAMA in the year 1999. Then government also allow the banks in the private sector. Earlier the banking sector was totally like the like sector which belongs to the government only. It was into the hands of the public sector only, but later on when the government give the relaxations, so government gave the relaxations to all these sectors. Then introducing 5-year export import holiday, granting automatic approval for 100% export oriented units. There were certain other reforms that were introduced by government in the policy that they introduced in the year July, in the year 1991, in the month of the July. So this was all the various measures that were the part of the liberalization policy. That was a major radical reform that was taken by the Indian government, which was with the reason to boost up the economy of India. Then the next important parameter, or you may take it as component of the global integration, it is called as the globalization. So to expand the economic activities around the world, so globalization really helps. When we talk about the globalization, just to check out the globalization, there are total 4 parameters. Whenever there is a reduction of the trade barriers, like there is free flow of goods and services across national frontiers, that is the first important parameter of the globalization. There is free flow of capital in the whole world. There is free flow of technology, free movement of labor. So it all depicts the globalization in the whole world. When we talk about the first 3 important parameters, that is free flow of goods and services, capital and technology, developed economies like USA, UK, they believe in these first 3 parameters. But the developing economies like India, China, they believe in the 4th important parameter also. So the like parameters to measure the level of globalization is dependent on these 4 important measures. And then comes privatization. When the government used to give the control of certain activities to the private hands, that may be called as the privatization. It may be understood as the process whereby activities of the enterprises that were once performed or operated by the government and its employees only, now they are performed or managed by the private businesses also. So just to have the more income, just to give the more employment, just to have the more investments into the infrastructure, into the various important projects, sometimes government used to take the decisions which give the power to the private people, to the private sectors, that they can come up with their ideas, with their tenders, with their projects. So that is all the part of the privatization. Replacement of government policies by the market forces, or sale of full or partial public sector undertakings to the private people or to the private sector, that is all the part of the privatization. And there may be the other techniques of the privatization, like it may include contract, leases, concessions, but one should take it as like for all these techniques, there is obviously there is a disinvestment by the government, but they only give the power to the private sector to work on it. The ownership still remains with the government or the public sector. Then the next important component, which is the part of any business environment or the macro force, macro environment, is the political environment. Before doing business in any particular country, it is really crucial for any businessman to study the political environment of that particular country. If there is political stability in the country, there are very less chances that there would be any kind of the disturbances into the policies that has been given by the government of that country. But if there is political instability, it may really hamper the growth of your business in that country. So it's very important for you as a business person to study the political environment of the country. The political environment of the country, it includes the three important parts, that includes legislature, executive and judiciary. Legislature decides a specific course of the action, that what has to be done. Executive, it is also called as the government, it implements whatever is decided by the legislature, that is parliament and state assembly in our case. And judiciary is the watchdog, it used to see that whether all the things are going as per the rules defined as per the legislature or not. So it used to keep eye on the legislature as well as the executive function. So this is the way that how the political system works in the country like India. So when we talk about the political environment, there are 4-5 factors that consists the political environment of any country. The first is the political system. The political system may be the autocratic system or the democratic system. For example, in our country, it is a democratic system. In democracy, the government is of the people, by the people and for the people. The most of the power is into one should say the power is into the hand of the general public. But in the case of the autocratic government, there are the autocrats, and they are actually the rulers. They make the rules and the general public has to follow that. When we talk about the political institutions, there may be the political parties that may be at the national level or the state level. For example, in our country, Congress is one of the party that competes at the national level, and there may be there are various regional parties like DMK, Telugu Desam, Praja Rajyam, Trinamool Congress. These are the political parties at the state level. So there may be various political institutions. One should study before starting business in any particular country, just to check out the whole political scenario of that country, and to assess that environment in terms of your business, whether it would be favorable for you to do the business in that country or not. Then for various political parties, there may be the political ideologies of the parties, like few of the, like for example, the political parties may be committed to socialism, they may be more into the capitalism, communism, they may be into the philosophy of the large industries, or they may be into the favor of the the small industries. So these political ideologies decides the various political decisions, decides about the various important policies that are made by the ruling party in that country. So it is again very important for us as a businessman to just check out the political ideologies of the parties, those who are into the rule. Political stability, as I told you earlier also, it is one important component of the political environment to check out. If there is instability in relation to the political system in a country, it is better that we should just not invest in that country, because if there would be the instability into the political system in that country, there are the chances that there would be a change into the decisions of the government, there would be a change into the policies of that particular country, and it may impact us favorably or unfavorably. So it's better that we should not go with the decisions of business in the countries in which there is more of the political instability. Then opposition parties plays a very crucial role when we talk about the political environment. You know that strong opposition party is a prerequisite in democracy, because somehow they help the general public. If the ruling party is not doing so good, then it is the strong opposition party that opposes the ruling party, and with the fear that the opposition party would put a question, ruling party goes with the important decisions that are really required for the welfare of the country. So when we talk in terms of the business, we should just check out the opposition parties also and the political nature of the parties also. So these 5 important components of the political environment may help any businessman to study the political environment of the country in which it is planning to do the business. Then comes natural environment. When we talk about the natural environment, it includes all the natural resources which are the part of that particular location, that particular state in which we are going to do the business, or if we are planning to do the business. For example, like if you are planning to do the business in any particular location, it is very much important for you to study the climate and weather conditions of that particular location. If I want to start the business of blankets, it is better for me just to check the climate and weather conditions of that particular location. Specifically, I can talk about India also. Like if I am starting the business of the blanket and or the quilts, and if I am taking the place like southern region, it is not a wise decision for me, because the climate and the weather condition, there is more hot weather at that particular location, so it is not a favorable decision for my business to go for these kind of the locations. Similarly, like if I want to do these kind of the business, so I should just check out the climate of that particular location, the levels of the pollution, the availability of the raw material in that particular places, in that particular locations. I should study that in detail before taking any decision related with the uh, business. So this is somehow that how the natural environment may impact our business. For example, again we can take an example, like if you are in the manufacturing of the umbrellas. So for in the state of like in Mumbai or in Maharashtra, it is wise to go with the expansion of your business, because there is more rainfall in that location. But it is not a wise decision into the deserts or into the city of Dubai. So it is not so wise decision to go, because the climatic conditions are not in your favor. So before starting any particular business or before taking any decision, one should just check out the availability of the natural resources, weather, climate conditions, rainfalls, environmental pollution, and then it may help that businessman in taking the better decisions. So this is how that natural environment may impact or influence any business. And then the legal environment, like if I am doing the business in India, I have to go with the laws of India. I cannot do my business while ignoring the laws that is prevalent in the country like India. Similarly, if I want to do business in France, UK, Germany, I must check all the laws which are related to that particular country. Like by denying the laws or by ignoring the laws, we as a business person cannot survive in that particular place, that particular country. So that's why legal environment is again very important. For example, there are various laws which are passed by the government for business operations. It includes Sale of Goods Act, Indian Companies Act, Income Tax Act, Consumer Protection Act, Weight and Measures Act, Environment Protection Act, Agriculture Policy, Industrial Policy, Foreign Investment Policy, Factories Act, Minimum Wages Act. So if any foreigner, or I must say that if any foreign company, they want to do business in our country, they have to obey all the laws whatever has been given by the government of our country. Similarly, if we are going to do the business in their country, we have to obey the laws of that particular country. By ignoring the laws of the country in which we are doing the business, we cannot do justice with our business decisions, and it can be the problem to our business. So legal environment again plays a very important role before planning. It is must for any businessman to check out all the laws that may influence the business decision. And now at last we are going to discuss about the various factors that may affect the international business environment. Again, we should just check out, there are a lot of the external factors on which we do not have any control. So if we are planning to do the business at the international level, these are the important factors which we should just discuss, we should just plan, we should do our homework in advance. First, the political factors. Before starting business in any country, I should just go with the political factors. We should study the political factors. It may include the changes in the tax rates, policies, and the actions of the government, political stability of the country, foreign trade regulations. So I must also check the political stability in that country. If there is instability in relation to the political parties, it is better that at that time I should not invest in that country as a businessman. So this is the first important factor that may impact the international business in the countries. Then the economic factors, if the growth rate is good in the country, then more of the people they want to invest in that country. So the economic factors is also one of the important factor that may affect the international business environment. Legal factors, as I already discussed with you, the laws of the country are really important. If you want to do the business, so one should just check out the legal factors. If there are the rigid laws, so there are less chances that the foreign investors will come or the foreign companies will come. But if there is a relaxation in the various laws by the government, so it provokes the foreigners or the foreign companies to come and to do the business in their countries. So legal factors also impacts the level of the international business in the country. Then the social factors, it includes the education level of the people in the country in which you are going to do the business, the status, the belief system, the tradition, customs of that country. So we should just do our homework in advance before launching any new project or doing any starting any kind of the facility in that country. We should study in detail about the consumer sentiments, habits, taste and preferences. Then we can take only the wise decisions. Then we should study about the natural resources also, the weather and the climatic condition, the temperature level in the locations or in the places where we are going to do the business. So the climatic and weather conditions also impact the decisions related with the businesses, especially with the foreign investors. They used to check out the environmental factors of the country in which they are going to do the business. Then again, technical factors, it is very much important for you to go with the latest technological upgradations if you want to do the business at the global level. With the obsolete and the outdated technologies, it is impossible for any business person to survive and grow at the global level. So that's why technical factors also plays a crucial role when we talk about the international environment. And these are also called as the macro factors, which are not in our control, but with the prior planning and with the prior focus on all these factors, one can make the good plans for his or her business. So this is all about the detailed discussion related with the important concepts of unit number 2, and I hope now there is more clarity on the macro forces. And like if there is any further problem, then the students may discuss that with me. And thank you. Thanks for all your concentration.